A very good morning to all of you. You're watching Breakfast News. My name is Aditi Nagpal-Girotra. Let's get the bulletin rolling with the headlines first. Situation in Assam returns to normal after protest against citizenship law. Curfew in Guwahati lifted. Internet services also resume. Decisions after review meeting by CM Sarbananda Sonowal. Campaigning for fifth and final phase of elections gains momentum. PM Modi to address poll rally in Bhagwat today. Polling in 16 constituencies on 20th December. Phase 4 witnesses 62% turnout. Centre releases more than Rs 35,000 crore GST compensation to states. Decision ahead of GST Council meet tomorrow to discuss falling GST revenue. Day 2 of 79th All India Conference of Legislative Members in Dehradun. 5-day meet discusses issues related to procedures of legislative houses. Rajya Sabha Secretary General Deshdeepak Verma and Lok Sabha Snehilata Srivastav among key speakers. Former President Pranab Mukherjee pitches for raising number of Lok Sabha constituencies and corresponding increase in Rajya Sabha strength, citing rise in population. Veteran parliamentarian argues for lifting freeze on number of seats. Assam government has completely lifted the curfew in view of the normalizing situation in the state. Meanwhile, the broadband internet service has also been restored across the state. The decisions were taken at a law and order review meeting by Chief Minister Sarbananda Sonowal on Monday.
Pretty quick time, and they are dominating in different places, and it's pretty much under control. We have been continuously engaging with the protesters, and there has been absolutely no problem with them whatsoever. So there are some discussions at times, there are some altercations, all right, but then the police definitely shows tremendous amount of restraint, and we've been engaging them in conversation, and the protesters have also been very responsive towards our conversation.
Meanwhile, in view of the ongoing violent protests across the country over the amended citizenship law, the Home Ministry issued an advisory to all states and union territories on checking incidents of violence and ensure safety of life and property. The advisory has asked states to take strict action against those spreading fake news on social media and other requisite measures to maintain law and order. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has called violent protest over the Citizenship Act unfortunate and deeply distressing. In a series of tweets, PM Modi said that vested interest groups cannot be allowed to divide and create disturbance in the country. He called for working together for the development of India and the empowerment of every Indian, especially the poor, downtrodden and marginalized. The Supreme Court will hear all pleas related to the Jamia Millia Islamia clashes in New Delhi today. The Apex Court on Monday agreed to hear the matter pertaining to the alleged police action on students of the Jamia Millia Islamia University and Aligarh Muslim University in Uttar Pradesh that took place on Sunday. While agreeing to hear the matter, the top court also issued a stern warning to students to stop riots, citing destruction of property amid Anti-Citizenship Amendment Act protests in the national capital. Chief Justice of India S.A. Bobde said that if violence and destruction of public property continues, we will not hear it. Delhi police has also registered 2 FIRs against Jamia students for arson and rioting during anti-CAA protests. Several pleas have been filed after violent clashes were reported between Delhi police and Jamia students on Sunday. Pleas on similar clashes in Aligarh Muslim University will also be heard by the Supreme Court on Tuesday. The Calcutta High Court has directed the state government to file a report on action taken regarding law and order situation in West Bengal amid protests against the citizenship law in the state. The division bench of Chief Justice TBN Radhakrishnan and Justice H. Bhattacharya gave the directions on a petition filed by a resident of Howrah that has seen incidents of vandalism and arson. The court directed the state government to file the report by 18th December, when the matter will be heard next. The Supreme Court has reprimanded states for non-implementation of its order for formation of special POCSO courts and the appointment of public prosecutors for hearing in cases of sexual exploitation against children. In July this year, the Apex Court had directed the setting up of special courts in each district across the country that had over 100 cases of child abuse and sexual assault pending trial under the POCSO Act. A bench led by the Chief Justice had directed the courts to be set up within 60 days. The deadline has now been extended till February. Besides, in an important administrative decision taken by Chief Justice S.A. Bobre in consultation with other senior judges for speedy trials in rape cases, a two-member judges committee will be set up to facilitate speedy trial in all rape cases in the country. Justices R. Subhash Reddy and M. R. Shah will be part of the committee. Campaigning has gained momentum for fifth and final phase of Jharkhand Assembly elections. 16 constituencies in Santhal Pargana area will go to polls in this phase on the 20th of this month. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will address an election rally at Bahraith district this afternoon. JMM, Jharkhand Vikas Morcha and AJSU leaders are also addressing public meetings to woo the voters for their party candidates. The 81-member Jharkhand Assembly is holding polls in 5 phases between 30th November and 20th December. Counting of votes will be held on 23rd December. Earlier on Monday, over 62% voter turnout was recorded at the end of 4th phase of assembly elections in Jharkhand. 5 constituencies spread over 4 districts of Dhanbad, Devgarh, Giridih and Bokaro went to polls in this phase. Polling in the 5 Naxal-affected constituencies of Bagodar, Jamui, Giridih, Dumri and Tundi were held between 7 a.m. and 3 p.m. While in the remaining 10 seats, voting concluded at 5 p.m. Elaborate security arrangements were made in every booth to ensure free, fair and peaceful polling. Election Commission also arranged webcasting facilities in 2,122 polling stations to ensure transparent conduct of polls. A total of 221 candidates, including 3 women, are in the fray for this phase. Fate of 2 Jharkhand ministers, Raj Palivar and Amar Bauri, 7 former ministers and 14 sitting MLAs will be decided in this phase. Union Home Minister Amit Shah has urged the students to stay away from violence. Addressing a public rally in Poriahat in Jharkhand, Amit Shah appealed to students to study the Citizenship Amendment Bill in detail, asserting it has no provision to take away the citizenship of anyone. He said the opposition parties are misleading the students and creating an atmosphere of violence inside the country. He also asked the opposition parties to abjure violence.
मैं सबको कहना चाहता हूं कि सिटीजनशिप अमेंडमेंट एक्ट किसी की नागरिकता छीनने का काम नहीं कर रहा है, वो नागरिकता देने का काम कर रहा है, वो गरीब दुखियारे लोगों को नागरिकता देने का काम कर रहा है। मित्रों, आज इस मंच से मैं विद्यार्थियों को भी अपील करना चाहता हूं कि आप सिटीजनशिप अमेंडमेंट एक्ट का अभ्यास करिए। इसमें किसी की भी नागरिकता छीनने का कोई प्रावधान ही नहीं है। ये कांग्रेस पार्टी, आप पार्टी और टीएमसी आपको गुमराह कर रहे हैं और देश के अंदर हिंसा का वातावरण पैदा कर रहे हैं। मैं कांग्रेस पार्टी और टीएमसी को और आप पार्टी को भी कहना चाहता हूं कि कृपया ये रास्ते से वापिस आ जाइए। ये रास्ता किसी का भला नहीं करता है। और युवा को भी कहना चाहता हूं, ये एक्ट का आप अभ्यास करिए। इसमें किसी की भी नागरिकता छीनने का कोई प्रावधान कतई कहीं पर भी नहीं है।
Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has sought inputs from netizens on the upcoming budget 2020. In a Twitter message, she has also shared the link to the portal where one can go and give their inputs. The link that takes the user to a page on mygovernment.in seeks ideas and suggestions to make the union budget making process participative and inclusive. The central government on Monday released about Rs 35,000 crore fund to states and union territories as pending GST compensation. The move comes after finance ministers and representatives of opposition-ruled state held meeting with Sitharaman earlier this month, expressing their concern over delay in payment of compensation. Earlier in the day, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman assured states that the centre will not renege on the promise of GST compensations. The GST Council meeting is slated to be held on 18th of December. With this, we'll halt in for a quick break, but we'll be back soon. Stay tuned with us.
Tales that inspire. Stories of social change. A salute to diversity. Promoting public discourse. Events that motivate. Inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries.
Welcome back. Still with us in Breakfast News. Lieutenant General Manoj Mukund Narvane will be the next Chief of Army Staff. He is currently serving as Vice Chief of the Army. He will succeed Army Chief General Bipin Rawat, who is due to retire on December 31st after a 3-year-long stint. Before taking charge as Vice Chief in September, Lieutenant General Narvane was heading the Eastern Command of the Army. He has served in numerous command and staff appointments in peace, field and highly active counter-insurgency environments in Jammu and Kashmir and the Northeast. Jammu and Kashmir administration has nominated 6 liaison officers in various states to redress the grievances of students studying outside the Union Territory and to ease their difficulties or distress. An official spokesperson said the step has been taken to ensure safety and welfare of the region's students pursuing higher education outside Jammu and Kashmir. He said the liaison officers are in constant touch with the local administration, college administrations and the state governments to reach out to the students of Jammu and Kashmir. Telecom Regulatory Authority of India has implemented the revised mobile number portability rules from Monday. The new rules will enable users to port to a new telecom operator in just 2 days. The overall time for porting has been reduced to 48 hours from the previous 96 hours. As per the revised rules, a unique porting code will be generated for a subscriber who requests for mobile number portability. If the user meets the eligibility criteria, the code should be issued to the user within 5 minutes of placing the request. TRAI notes that porting to other operator within the same circle will be executed within 3 working days, and if porting is for another circle, it will be executed within 5 days. There is no change in the porting timelines for the corporate mobile connections. Also, there is no change in the porting timeline for porting to different state altogether.
करीब 2 या 3 दिन में ही ये मोबाइल नंबर पोर्टेबिलिटी आपकी लागू हो जाएगी. 2 या 3 दिन में ही नंबर बदल जाएगा और नंबर बदल नहीं जाएगा, सर्विस प्रोवाइडर आपका बदल जाएगा, नंबर वही रहेगा.
The winter session of the Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh Legislative Assembly is beginning from today. Meanwhile, today is the second day of the ongoing Maharashtra Legislative Assembly in Nagpur. The winter session of the Madhya Pradesh Legislative Assembly begins today. There will be 5 meetings during the session lasting from December 17th to 23rd. The session of the Uttar Pradesh Legislative Assembly is also starting from today. The supplementary budget will be presented on the very first day. It will be proposed to discuss and pass it on the next supplementary budget day. The session will run from 17 December to 20th December. Today is the second day of the ongoing Maharashtra Assembly session in Nagpur. During a week-long session, supplementary demands, bills and the governor's address will be discussed. The 79th All India Convention of Presiding Officers of Legislatures is being held in Dehradun from 16th December to 20th December. On the first day on Monday, the secretaries of all legislative bodies of the country and the Secretary General of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha discussed the parliamentary procedure. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla will inaugurate the conference on 18th of December. The presiding officers of all state legislatures are likely to participate in the conference and share their experiences. Among the items on the agenda is 10th schedule to the Constitution and the role of the Speaker. Another important topic of discussion at conference is strengthening parliamentary democracy and capacity building through in-house devices, including Zero-Hour Forum of Conference of Presiding Officers of Legislative Bodies, was launched in 1921. Former President Pranab Mukherjee has called for raising the number of Lok Sabha constituencies. Delivering the second Atal Bihari Vajpayee Memorial Lecture in New Delhi, Mukherjee pitched for increasing the number of Lok Sabha constituencies from the existing 543 to 1,000 and for a corresponding increase in Rajya Sabha's strength. Mukherjee noted that the last time the strength of Lok Sabha was revised was in 1977 and said that population since then has more than doubled and hence there is a strong case to remove the freeze in the delimitation exercise.
In the last general elections of 2019, approximately 90 crore voters were enrolled and were eligible for voting 543 members of the Lok Sabha. Nearly two-thirds of them exercised their voting rights. With an average 16 to 18 lakh people having one representative in parliament, how can we expect the representative to be in touch with the electorate? There is a strong case for removing this freeze on the number of seats in the delimitation exercise. Whenever there is a question of removing this freeze of the number of seats, which should ideally increase to about 1,000 Lok Sabha MPs, with correspondingly a rise in the number of Rajya Sabha MPs, more than often the arguments are given the logistic problems. I do consider it is no major problem. Even with the existing infrastructure available, Central Hall could easily be converted into Lok Sabha. Lok Sabha can easily be converted into Rajya Sabha, and Rajya Sabha can be converted into the lobby, or Central Hall's role can be assigned to it.
Vice President Venkaiah Naidu on Monday asserted that mining industry should give top priority to safety, health and life of all the workers. Vice President presented the National Safety Awards for 2015-16 at Vigyan Bhavan in Delhi. Addressing the gathering, Naidu said that mining sector should provide a safe and secure workplace. Therefore, there is a need for use of technical tools and e-governance in the sector.
Every worker has a right to safe and decent work environment. It is the duty of the management, private or public, or the government, to see that the interest, safety, security of the workers is maintained. Our aim should be constantly endeavor towards the goal of zero harm. Despite technological advances, mining operations are subject to safety and health hazards for workers such as inhalation of dust, inhalation of toxic fumes and gases, exposure to radiation, noise-reduced hearing loss, heart stroke, exhaustion, etc.
The Vice President also said that the mining sector contributes around 2.6% of our national GDP and provides direct and indirect employment to over 10 million people. He added that these resources should be further expanded for faster economic growth. Union Labour Minister Santosh Gangwar also said that the government is committed to providing better working conditions to workers.
Country's mining sector forms an important segment of the economy, contributing around 2.6% of our national GDP. In the year 1819, the gross value addition by mining and quarrying sector was rupees 4,10,000 crores. It also provides direct and indirect employment to over 10 million people across the country. Since independence, there has been a phenomenal growth in mineral production, both in terms of quantity and value. Today, we are ranked between 4 to 6 in the global production of minerals such as bauxite, chromite, iron ore, and manganese. We should further aspire to expand the value chain of our key mineral to leverage these resources for faster economic development.
सभी श्रमिकों के हितों की रक्षा करने के उद्देश्य से हमारे मंत्रालय ने 2014 से लेबर रिफॉर्म्स का काम शुरू किया है और आदरणीय माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के अभूतपूर्व नेतृत्व में हमने श्रम कानूनों की जटिलताओं को कम करने का महाअभियान शुरू किया है। 2014 से आज 5 वर्ष के बाद 2019 में जो 44 श्रम कानून थे उनको 4 लेबर कोड्स में परिवर्तित करने का काम हम लोग पूर्ण कर रहे हैं। आज के दिन मैं बड़ी प्रसन्नता के साथ ये कह सकता हूं कि 4 में से पहला कोड ऑन वेजेस सदन के दोनों सदनों द्वारा पारित किया जा चुका है।
Meanwhile, the Vice President also expressed concern about the violence across the nation. He said that no problem can be solved through violence and it only obstructs the path of development.
We are in free India, our own India. If you are obstructing, that means you are obstructing the growth. If you are destroying, means you are destroying the nation's wealth. The other day, some public transport has been destroyed. Who are the losers? After the people. Any violence is not going to solve any problem at all. The law enforcing agencies must be tough. They must do their duty. At the same time, the trade unions or the student bodies or the legislative bodies, everyone has a responsibility. And think twice before doing anything which is obstructive, destructive.
Boeing will temporarily halt production of its troubled 737 MAX airliner in January as safety regulators delay the aircraft's return to the skies after 2 crashes. Production of the jet had continued despite the model being grounded for 9 months after 2 deadly crashes. More than 300 people died when 2 737 MAX aircrafts crashed in Indonesia and Ethiopia after problems being reported with the new feature. Boeing had been hoping to have the aircraft back in the air by the end of this year, but US regulators made it clear that the planes would not be certified to return to the skies that quickly. And with this, it's a wrap on this edition of Breakfast News. Thank you so much for joining us.